I'm going to be talking to Dr. James Meadowcroft, who is the research director for the Transition Accelerator and a professor at the Carleton University, about a new course on net zero that's intended for government and industry leaders and civil society leaders. So welcome to the interview, James.
Hi, Markham, glad to be here.
Look, why don't we start with an overview of your course, please?
Well, yes. So this is basically a kind of crash introductory course that focuses on the challenge of getting to net zero. And we've called it Net Zero Changes Everything, because we really think that once you begin to think about the climate change problem in a frame about net zero, it really changes how we think about the actions individuals must take, policy, the government policy, but also firms and how they are preparing for a net zero world. So the course really is, at the moment, it's designed to be given 2 3-hour sessions, preferably over 2 days. And there are kind of 3 modules on it. The first really focuses on what is net zero and what does it mean to get there. The second one kind of presents what some of the core ideas of a strategic approach would be. And the third talks about the type of change involved and so on. Yeah, so that's kind of a quick overview, and I can dig in a little bit more if you'd like.
Well, sure. Well, let's talk about who the audience is, and because I can see, based on the government officials I interview, the business executives I interview, that an understanding of the energy transition and the path to or pathways to net zero really isn't well understood. I can see why there's a need to offer a course like this.
Yes, absolutely. It's only been a couple of years since Canada has had a formal net zero commitment, and less than that is embodied in legislation. And so really this course is designed for leaders in industry, in governments at all levels, municipalities, provinces, the federal level, and also folks from civil society organizations, NGOs, and so on, who are going to whose work is some way connected with climate change and moving towards net zero, and they're going to have to think about how their organization places themselves in a world that is moving towards net zero.
Now, if I was a business leader, James, and taking your course, I would say, okay, great. On the climate change side, we have to get to net zero emissions. So how is my business going to do that? But on the energy transition side, I'd be going, well, as we electrify, as we change how we do things, around transportation and how we heat buildings and so on, there's got to be some opportunity here. If you're a smart entrepreneur and you're looking ahead into the future. So are both of those covered in your course?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the movement towards net zero is in one sense a big challenge, and that demands an adjustment from citizens, from companies, from the government. But on the other hand, it has all these opportunities as well, and these are opportunities from the point of view of a firm. It can be new markets, new products, new ways of doing things. More generally in society, it can be an opportunity to improve the way we do things. So we don't just make our houses net zero by getting rid of, say, natural gas combustion furnaces, but we can also make improvements that make the houses better to live in, more comfortable, and the same with transport and our other big systems of social provisioning. 6 hours may sound like quite a lot, but of course it's really a short time to actually get into the details. But we have a couple of case studies, and where we get the students to work together to understand I think really a lot of the focus I would say is 2 things. Firstly, to really understand what the net zero challenge implies and why it's so difficult. Why it's actually really a big ask to completely remove, because net zero means no net additions of greenhouse gases to the atmosphere. Anything we put up, we've got to take down. And the taking down part is kind of hard. And the technologies are expensive and not very certain yet. So it's a real challenge.
Was this course developed in response to demand from the audiences that you're talking about?
Yes, absolutely. The Transition Accelerator has been doing its work. We've met lots of people in government and in companies who've said, we're still trying to get to grips with this issue. What do you think it involves? What changes will it make for us? So we thought if we designed this kind of an introductory course, it would be suitable for quite a few people in an organization. It would give everybody a kind of basis from which to approach the question.
Yeah, I find that we've been reporting on energy and climate change here at Energy Media probably from about 2012, 2013. And we spent a lot of the time there was either the debate was around the public debate, the public conversation was around, do we believe climate science or don't we? Fighting the denial school. Is there an energy transition or isn't there an energy transition? And it's really only been the last 2 or 3 years where the conversation has really turned around to, okay, now we have to get to net zero because we're taking this seriously and we're in an energy transition. Oh my goodness, how do I mitigate risk and take advantage of opportunities? So even though the conversation's been going on a long time, it really has become focused in the last few years, I would say. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that's completely right. And I'd add to some of the things we wasted a lot of time on. We argued a lot about pipelines for quite a while, and of course that goes on. And we've argued about carbon pricing, and there's been a huge focus on these issues, but not so much really on how to actually do it. I mean, what are the solutions? What are the cost and benefit of different ways of approaching the problem? And I'd say 18 months that we've really got stuck into it, and people have begun to realize, hey, this is actually serious. That means looking at 10 years out, 20 years out, we won't be driving gasoline cars. It'll be something different, and so on in the different sectors. And I think particularly some of the opportunities you mentioned, companies are beginning to see, wow, we could really change our business, and there are new markets out there that we could capture if we really get stuck in now and not wait to be the laggard in making these changes.
That you've hit on something that's kind of a pet project of mine, and that is the whole issue of in Canada, and I suppose in North America as a whole. We're not. It's too late to be innovators. It's too late to be early adopters. But are we going to be early majority adopters, or are we going to be laggards? Because
So I wouldn't quite agree it's too late to be innovators. There are certainly areas where it's too late. Like, we're not going to be the world's leading turbine manufacturers or mass production of solar cells. There are other people who've got there first, and there are other people with, China's a big example, huge economies of scale that we can't compete with. But of course, the low carbon transition is going to involve many different sectors and many technologies. And there's plenty of places for Canada to find a spot and also to be innovators. So something like batteries is an interesting thing, though, already a lot of battery production is going to be concentrated in the biggest countries. There's still innovation going on to develop new battery chemistries, new ways of production and things like that. And that's an example where there could be a niche for Canada. And I should mention that soon we're going to be putting out a report that's going to be looking at kind of industrial strategy opportunities for Canada, which we're prepared with a couple of other organizations that will really looking at what are some of the sectors where Canada has the biggest opportunity looking forward over the next decade or two.
Well, James, thank you very much for this. I hope that viewers will get a sense of how exciting this topic is, actually. It's very timely, and it really gets to the nub of how Canada is going to be prosperous in the 21st century. I mean, this is really what we're talking about here, and your course will deal with, is we're transitioning from a 20th century economy to a 21st century economy. What do we have to do to be as prosperous as we have been in the past? So thank you very much for this.
Yeah, absolutely. The course is called Net Zero Changes Everything. And if people are interested, they can see it on the Transition Accelerator website. Thank you so much.